Welcome back to the Holosky podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Steven.
And Kyle.
And it's Monday Holocult. You know what that means?
We're rich as fuck.
No, there's a blizzard.
Oh.
And during that blizzard, you've chosen us to hang out with you to get you through your work week.
I'm just doing what you taught us to do, and that was to manifest.
Yeah, I mean, we are rich.
Yeah.
Rich in manifestation.
Yeah, that's true. I daydream a lot.
Yeah. I need to really hone in on my manifestation work.
Yeah.
I paint a real,
nothing ever happens because we're too scattered shot.
Yeah, I paint a real broad brush.
Yeah.
You know, because I like the last big Powerball, I was like, I'm manifesting myself to win the Powerball. And I won like $4 on a ticket, which technically successful manifestation.
Yeah. That would definitely count that.
Specific. That's on
definitely
me.
Count that. Yeah.
But I'm learning, locking in. I'm gonna have JJ teach me.
Yeah.
Get hyper focused.
Gotta crawl for your walk, bro.
It's true. If you're new here, this is what me and Kyle do. We talk a little bit to begin with. If you want to get right to the crux of the show, you're gonna have to fast forward for like 6 minutes. You want to sit here and listen to me and Kyle talk? Me and Kyle talk. Got me.
Knock that out of the park.
Yeah, we're trying our best. It's our first show, ladies and gentlemen. So
it is.
Bear with us. Yeah, hang out. If you're not new here, welcome back. Thanks for coming in and hanging out with us. Today I got a case that I hadn't heard before, but I kind of stumbled on it on a couple YouTube channels and stuff. Pretty interesting. Some precursor to CE5 phenomenon.
Dope.
It's pretty cool. So hang out and check us out for that. Yeah. Anyway, check us out at all our social medias: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Discord, Reddit. Search up the Holosky podcast. You'll find us there. Come join the cult. Be part of the community. It's awesome. If you have your own paranormal experience you'd like to share with us for this show or a different show that we'll put out sometime, Kyle's got some information you're going to want.
I do. It's simple. It's easy. holoskypodcast@gmail.com. Write your story out as much detail as you can. Shoot it over there. From there, we take it, we put it in the catacombs where it may or may not get lost. Regardless, eventually, it will be aired out. And when it does, that will be revolutionary and you will be famous.
It's simple.
It is simple.
Simple formula.
And that's just how science works.
Yeah. Simple scientific equation.
It really is.
On how to get famous.
See? It doesn't work for Steve and I for whatever reason. Maybe it's like it's like the observer thing. Yeah. It's something like that. But it'll definitely work for you guys.
Yeah. We're here for that.
Yeah, we're definitely stepping stones.
That's the story of my goddamn life.
More like floor mats, but stepping stones sounds better.
If you'd like to support this endeavor we've got going on now, plenty of ways you can do it. We got a Patreon. You can go over there and check that out. Plenty of different tiers for different stuff. We got some things coming down the pipe. New different stuff for 2026 that's going to go on the Patreon. So get excited about that. Also, big thanks to our patrons that are already signed up. Love you guys.
Yeah.
We can't state that enough. Super appreciative of all the help we get over there. You can also go to holoskypodcast.com. We have a merch store over there. Pick you up some holo goods, some shirts and hats and stickers and things, all kinds of stuff over there. If there's not, there will be eventually. So just bear with us. The best thing you can do is share the show word of mouth. It costs nothing. And it's quick and easy. Share the shows on social media. Share the shows to all your weird friends. Anybody who listens to podcasts, just keep throwing us out there. Get a hold of your favorite podcasters. Maybe we can get something in the works to where we do a crossover. All kinds of stuff like that. We can get our schedules together. And that's a lot on us. Our schedules are pretty scattered, but we're working on it. Trying our best. What else we got? Oh, you can go to wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a wonderful rating and review. When I find them, I'll shout you out. This week's 100% rating on Facebook comes to us from our friend Richard. Richard says, the Holosky podcast is the most down-to-earth podcast you can listen to. When I want to listen to all things paranormal with commentary that is worthy of its own Comedy Central special, this is my go-to. Keep up the amazing work, guys. Well,
Thank you.
Richard, this was from a long time ago. This is from 2022.
That's okay. We'll treat it like it was today.
Yeah, you're still here, so hell yeah. Thanks for the kind word, the kind Facebook words.
It's appreciated. 100% goes a long way.
And we are pretty funny.
Yeah.
We're the funniest guys I know.
I would second that.
Yeah. I don't know that many people, though.
Hey, that's besides the point.
So it is what it is. Another way you can support the show is support our wonderful sponsors, which you will be hearing from right about now. And just like that, we're back. Welcome back, Hollow Cult. We're going to get into the crux of today's show, which, as I stated earlier, is kind of like a precursor to the CE5 movement. The woman,
I wouldn't have guessed that there was a precursor to the CE5 movement.
I don't think that she exactly knew that she had going on what she had going on.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Her name is Stella Lansing, and I'm going to title the show Stella and Her Images from the Other Side.
Cool.
So to get into it, I'm going to talk a little bit about CE5, just kind of give a brief overview for people who aren't familiar. CE5 is Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. It refers to the methodology for human-initiated peaceful contact with extraterrestrial civilizations.
Why is it got to be peaceful? Is it because it's peaceful on our end?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Since it's
weird, it's kind of a weird thing. It's a weird thing to put. So essentially, if we tried CE5 and we were just saying things like "suck it, nerds," then
elbow drops,
that's definitely not CE5. Then it would be. There's probably a subcategory for that.
Hollow 5.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
that sounds good.
Yeah, I don't know the exact like Close Encounters of the First Kind, Second Kind, Third Kind is contact, right? Fourth kind is like abduction, something along those lines. Don't quote me on that. But CE5, again, peaceful contact with extraterrestrial civilizations, developed by Dr. Stephen Greer, a prominent UFO researcher who funded the Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Protocols involve using consciousness, meditation, specific light and sound signals in group formations at UFO hotspots to attract and communicate with ETI with the goal of disclosure and establishing peaceful relations. So, I feel like a lot of us in the UFO world know who Stephen Greer is. He's had his experience out there. He's got apps now that you can use. He's photographed supposed entities from beyond and all kinds of stuff. Another thing that's been going on kind of in that realm is you have Chris Bledsoe, him calling in orbs, blurry dots of light that kind of look like satellites in the space station, but I won't talk about that. And he's also got his white lady who he communicates with. And before you had all of that, you had Stella Lansing, which Stella Lansing was a middle-aged housewife from Massachusetts who in 1961 began to experience strange and otherworldly events throughout her life. Over time, these experiences led her down a bizarre path that involved UFOs, strange humanoid creatures, men in black, and visions of other world.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's awesome.
And Stella was a real one because
even better.
She managed to document extensively.
Good for her.
Most of her encounters via film, via pictures, via all kinds of stuff.
Man, she didn't give a fuck then, did she?
No. She knew something was going on.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Today we're going to kind of look into Stella's case and her encounters and her meticulous documentation of her encounters with whatever was initially contacting her, but also she was contacting, I guess. So Stella, for all intents and purposes, was a normal kind of run-of-the-mill American woman for the time in the 60s. She was born November 14th, 1925 in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. She graduated from Northampton High School She worked as a nurse at Northampton State Hospital. She later married Richard G. Lansing, and they had 5 children together. She'd settled into being a mother, a wife, and a homemaker. Pretty chill life at that point.
Yeah.
This all began to change on a warm September night in 1961. At about 1 a.m., after she had finished feeding her infant daughter, Stella was out on her front porch, just kind of taking a breath, soaking in the quietness and the peace, when she noticed a bright hovering orb outside of her Northampton home in Massachusetts. The object hovered at tree level in the distant sky before zipping closely to her. It stopped in midair between her house and her neighbor's garage. She noted that it appeared to be observing her, almost like there was an intent behind it.
Yeah, definitely.
Which, like, the thing I saw in Georgia, I felt like had the same, like, that's what I felt too, which is bizarre.
Bro, it's a fucking alien.
Yeah.
Which means it's got to mean that it somehow taps into your conscious right there, right? Your consciousness.
Somehow, something.
Yeah, it's got to be something like that.
At first, I just thought I was being like main character syndrome, you know, like, oh, I'm seeing this. It's specifically for me. But then I'm like, man, it felt like it knew that I was looking at it.
That's awesome. It gives me goosebumps, but it's awesome.
Yeah. Suddenly, the orb shot away and disappeared. Stella said, and quote, "I saw a soft light, like a rising star. Then it went so fast I thought it was a plane, but there was no sound. Then it stopped dead, and it was about the size of a dinner plate, and it came at me at great speed. After it went away, after it disappeared the first time, Stella would run upstairs to wake up Richard to try to show him the object, but by the time he made it to the window, it was gone." By 1963, the Lansing family was living in Palmer, Massachusetts. And over the last year, Stella had seen these objects with growing frequency. She noted that the lights behaved in ways that she couldn't necessarily explain. At first, she didn't attribute them to UFOs because she felt that these things were more personal to her, like they were showing up specifically for her.
Sounds just like Bledsoe.
Yeah. Yep. She said that they didn't fly in the way that you would think anything of the time could maneuver. She said it was more so that they floated and they hovered and they changed directions in ways that she said didn't really align with the laws of inertia, the way that they would move throughout the sky, or how any aircraft at the time acted for that matter. Oddly enough, as she would see them, she would also state that they would just vanish into nothing, which again,
not normal.
Similar to what I saw too. You know,
yeah,
like
true.
As soon as Mel's eyes locked on it, the thing just blinked out, which is bizarre.
It's destiny.
Destiny. The next major event kind of took place in 1965 during the Great Northeast Blackout. This was a significant disruption in the supply of electricity. Happened on Tuesday, November 9th, 1965, affecting parts of Ontario, Canada, Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Vermont. Over 30 million people and 80,000 square miles were left without electricity for up to 13 hours. Stella was out that night driving to deliver some candles to a friend whose house has also been swallowed up by the blackout. She was en route via Flint Street when she noticed a bright light overhead. She saw the same glowing object that visited her 4 years before. This time, however, it was traveling through the telephone poles along the highway as she was driving down them. So this thing was weaving in and out of the telephone poles as she was driving. Yeah. As she's driving and watching this thing, all of the sudden, out of the darkness, 2 headlights pop on. And she sees it. I'm thinking it's behind her. No, it says, okay, headlights pop on, suddenly appear in the highway. A black car was a few feet ahead of Stella. And as she watched this car move, it was almost as if it had been being guided by whatever this orb was. They almost moved in tandem over the road. So as it would move, the car would move. It would move, the car would move. She said it appeared to be driven by the light, so to speak, not necessarily in the car, but almost like in connection with the car.
That's fucking weird.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard anything like that before.
No, me either. At this point, the black car then just simply rolled off the highway down a hill to a standstill. Stella kept driving, noticing that the orb had changed direction now that the car had stopped. It was now moving over fields alongside the highway. She tried to maintain her focus on the orb until it disappeared from view and then continue on to her friend's house. Interestingly enough, many researchers have drawn connections to unusual UFO activity and sightings during this specific East Coast blackout. So I was kind of like doing the theories in my head. It almost made me wonder if this orb was weaving in and out of the electric poles just to test to see if there was electricity at this point, you know?
Could be. It also makes me wonder, because I mean, when you said black car, well, I mean, there's a notorious figure that's associated with black cars. So it makes me wonder, like, what if the UFO warded off the MIB in that situation?
Oh, I didn't think about that.
The fact that it's like took control and then was like, oop, down the hill you go.
Yep, see ya. I didn't think about that. And how would they know that orb was going to appear there? Because this is not the only time this happens in Stella's life. It's crazy. So Stella kept driving, noticing that the orb had changed direction, moving over the fields alongside the highway. As she drove past the dark car, she sensed the occupants were watching her as the bright orb suddenly dipped below the telephone wires and into a nearby field. From where she sat, Stella saw the light fly northeast before flaring in a great red flash into the dark sky. She kept her car moving until she reached the safety of her friend's house. 2 years later, Stella continued to see strange light in the sky that sometimes followed her home. Her children were sometimes with her when the orbs would make their appearances, and they too would see them. So it wasn't just a one-off thing just for her. By the mid to late 60s, she had only mentioned these experiences to her family and a few close friends, still unaware of what these lights were or what they wanted. But Stella couldn't have imagined what horrors were about to happen. It was on the night of Halloween in 1966 when Stella had a terrifying encounter with a strange, grotesque creature. Around 7:20 p.m., she parked her car facing the water of a nearby lake by their home. Just as Stella was about to cut off her headlights, she saw what she thought was a head bobbing up and down in the water of the lake. Her eyes stuck to the figure bobbing in the water. She said it looked like a human wearing a black skull cap. Scared out of her mind as to what she was seeing, she went to put her car in reverse to pull away from the shoreline where she was parked at. In her frantic state, she noticed that the humanoid creature had pulled itself out of the water and was crawling onto the shore. At this point, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Nope.
That's some horror movie shit right there.
That's what exactly. I mean, it's one thing to like walk out of the water. That's scary. But it goes crawling out of the water? Yeah, fuck that. Yeah. You're either getting run over, kicked, or I'm getting out of there.
Yeah. I like Stella's first option where she just put the car. She's like, I'm not dealing with this right now. I'm out of here. I'm
with her. That's probably what I would have done too.
As it crawled to the shore, this thing stood up on two legs and began sprinting toward a peninsula that jutted out into the lake, only 60 meters from where their house was. So this thing's sprinting off toward her house.
Oh, dude, that would scare the shit out of me.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like T1000 on crack because it already knows where you're at.
Yeah. And the fact that it's underwater.
Yeah.
That part's so weird.
That part is so fucking scary. Is what it is. This thing's just fucking out there lurking. And then it lets you see it. And then it's like, watch this. You think you're going to get away? Doubt that. I'm going to cut you off. Watch me T1000 sprint and beat you home.
It gives me the heebie-jeebies sitting there watching it bob up and down in the pond or in the lake, and then it just gets closer and closer till it crawls out.
Oh man, It gives me goosebumps thinking about it. That would suck.
Yeah. Obviously scared out of her mind, she quickly shifted her car into reverse to pull away. Again, sprinted toward her house. As Stella adjusted her car and headlights to shine toward the location, she saw a basketball-sized orange orb of light surrounded by a weird orange mist. The dim light made the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. Suddenly, a giant, brighter orb of light swooped down behind her house and then flew across the water. This bright red object was spotted by Stella's 2 teenage neighbors, who saw it descend from the sky and glide down to the lake. Not far behind them was Stella's family, who remained completely oblivious to the bizarre phenomenon that occurred just up the road. So there was actual other witnesses to at least the UFO, or the orb of light, I should say.
It's still terrifying because I just think about having kids at home and you're not there, and this fucking crazy ass thing is shooting off toward that. No.
Yeah.
Ram my car right into that orb.
Yeah, you're right. That's the only reasonable explanation.
Exactly.
So Stella assumed that whatever this secondary bright light was came and picked up what the creature was because she didn't see it again. Luckily. I guess luckily. I don't know if I'd rather know where it went or not know where it went at that point.
That's a good point, because I think that night, I wouldn't have gotten sleep.
No. It was apparent by 1967, 6 years after her initial contact, that Stella was having heavy traumatic experiences that seemed to be specific to her and surround her. These lights were showing up with more frequency now, almost as if they were attracted to Stella herself. She began to wonder if she should try and document these odd occurrences. So she got herself a Browning and a Polaroid camera to try to catch these things on film, which, as you can expect, it being the 1960s, they were not great. Not very good. Just a bunch of blurry photos, kind of felt like overexposures. But this didn't deter Stella, because the phenomena kept happening. It took a twist once Stella acquired an 8mm film camera. She got said camera from her boss after she went to him about the strange incidences, just kind of confiding in him to see if he had seen anything either. He suggested, hey, borrow my 8mm video camera, see if this changes anything. See if the frame by frame helps you capture anything. Apparently it does.
Hell yeah.
On the night of February 18th, 1967, Stella once again saw the strange lights. She stopped her car on Route 32 near Warren Road and Flint Street, which is again where the orb went between the power lines was on Flint Street. So it's very geographically close to one another, all of these encounters, which is also a strange thing I didn't think about until just now. So it does kind of link into it may being specific to Stella, if not specific to that general location right there.
Yeah.
So as she saw the orb, Stella does break rule number 1 when you see a damn UFO. Stops her car, gets out of her car.
Hell yes.
Why, Stella?
That's what we like here at the Holosky. We like people that have rules and then tend to break rules.
Yeah. At this point, she noticed another car had pulled off the side of the road. And a man who was the driver had also exited due to the unusual nature of the lights. So again, we have a secondary witness to what she was seeing. Stella asked the man if she saw the lights. And the man was just almost in shock. And he's like, yes, I do. It had almost been 3 months since Stella's Halloween encounter when she decided to use her 8mm camera to try to capture the orb phenomenon that she'd been witnessing. At this point, she didn't have the 8mm camera on her, so she turned around, drove back home, got it, and headed back to the place. As she neared the intersection, she's ready. She said, I'm going to get you.
Stay strapped.
Yeah. As she got back to the intersection, now she noticed 2 lights that were there, as opposed to the one. And these 2 were bigger now, and they had ascended from in between the power lines from above. They silently joined the other light that she had seen. She said one of the red lights stopped and it almost looked like it had, quote, bounced like a rubber ball across the road. It's like the encounters with these things, the way they move and shit is
So
so
weird.
bizarre.
And it sounds almost fucking identical to the Bledsoe encounter. So right now.
It's weird.
It makes you wonder if there's more of these species out there that are trying to communicate.
I don't know, man. I know I'm going to get ahead of myself here, but I'm thinking of questions as I'm like going through. Have the Bledsoes came forward with any kind of Men in Black encounters?
I don't remember.
I know they're all.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't remember.
It's also hard to like keep track of because they're also like kind of in cahoots with a lot of the alphabet agencies anyway.
Yeah, and and to be fair, like for whatever reason in current times, the Men in Black are not as heavily reported as they used to be.
Yeah, that's weird. That's
is weird.
So Stella remained out in the middle of this road, catching glimpses of these strange lights. She said the lights bounced, traveled, flew around, giving her a lot of time to observe and film them with her 8mm camera. At one point, she was joined by a cashier and friend of hers who was on her way home from a long shift, who just happened to see Stella parked along the side of the road. The two cars parked next to each other as the women watched these orbs just dance about in the middle of the road. Shortly thereafter, the lights vanished. A bluish light then appeared off in the distance and slowly approached Stella and her friend. She kept her camera pointed steadily at the object. To their relief, it stopped about 150 feet away from them before flying away. Just then, a bright burst of white light blinded the two as the object took off at incredible speeds into the sky. All the while, Stella's camera kept rolling. She's quoted saying, They were two yellowish lights, she recounted. They were silently walking from east to west toward the old cemetery. So Stella had this 8mm camera and had all this film, but she didn't have any way to develop the film. She only had the camera. So she took her film. This is what she dubbed this specific encounter as the red bug, because the orb that was bouncing like a ball was orange. To a laboratory, she took the film to a laboratory in Springfield, Massachusetts for developing. That's when she learned that 25 foot of her film segment had been incorrectly spliced. Out of the 50 feet of film loaded into the camera, the last 25 feet were of her jeweler's friend's daughter and her fiance in an outdoor setting. However, the first 25 of the feet of the film did contain Stella's recording of the lights. After she returned home, she had to borrow a projector to even view the footage. It was pretty much exactly how she remembered it. Dark night, the way the lights moved, etc., except for about 4 seconds of the film. That's where she saw what she believed was a human face within one of the orbs. This is where things start getting different.
Hell yeah, I'm ready for it.
Yeah. At this point, when she sees the face, she's beginning to question if she's seeing what she's really seeing.
And rightfully so.
Yes. So, since she worked at the state hospital, she decided to voluntarily commit herself for a mental evaluation. Because she's like, these aren't things that happen to normal people. She's of sound mind.
I was going to say, she's abnormally calm and collected over this.
Because
she's being very, like, it's well thought out.
Yeah. Yeah. Because she is going through all of the checking off all the boxes to make sure what's going on is really going on. I find out later on, we'll get into this doctor named Dr. Schwartz, that she was also experiencing different things that she didn't really talk about in some of these interviews. I couldn't find them directly from Stella, but I did find it in his notes. He said that she was also experiencing entities that were visiting her in the night. She said some of these had physical contact with her where they would do some sort of like electroshock kind of manipulation to her.
No,
She
I'm good.
also stated that she was getting messages from Beelzebub, which is a demon, and she has attributed these things coming from him, that he was sending these things. So she has herself checked in, voluntarily committed to a mental institution to make sure her mind wasn't playing tricks on her. Diagnosis was, do you want to guess?
Psychosis?
Paranoid schizophrenia.
Close.
Which is actually one of the more controversial aspects of Stella's story, because when taken into account of the evidence that she actually produces, and testimony of Dr. Schwartz, one of the psychiatrists that has studied Stella the most, the schizophrenia diagnosis doesn't really hold water, because Dr. Schwartz said basically what Stella was seeing wasn't a result of paranoid schizophrenia. The paranoia was a result of the things she was experiencing. So it was kind
of a byproduct.
Yeah, kind of a byproduct of the phenomena.
Yeah, and I like it kind of goes to further our point that it's a high probability that a lot of paranoid schizophrenia is probably used as a washout method to get rid of some of these things that we can't explain. Furthermore, it's also interesting that it says that it's Beelzebub and that these are demons or whatever sent from him, so on and so forth. Whereas that could be true. Could also be a probability that these things know our literature and our belief systems, and they're using a reference.
Could be
that they had.
Yep, and I'll
kind
get
of a shit reference, but
I'll get into it a little bit more when I get into Dr. Schwartz's notes, because that was the only place I could see where it was talked about, because I couldn't find any other information directly from her referring to it. But he does bring it up because we'll get into it. Anyway, she was committed for 10 days where she was discharged from the hospital. And at that point, after getting the paranoid schizophrenia diagnosis, she was pretty much convinced that all this taking place was in her head. She had a few snippets of evidence, other people seeing at least the orbs, but the other phenomena that came along with it was all specific to her. So she was thinking, maybe this is really just my brain, firing off for some of these things.
And I think because of that, I'll label Stella as a real one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because who the fuck wouldn't do the same thing?
Yep. Especially after you went in to make sure your brain was good and they tell you your brain's not good. So you're going to be like, yeah, maybe they're right.
And that's a hyper vulnerable state and situation, because there have been times where I've questioned my sanity and seeing stuff and experiencing things. And it's kind of a twofold thing, because you're seeing it and you're believing it. However, at the same time, you're rationalizing it away. But it's also a scary thought that you could be influenced by a doctor, somebody being like, no, dude, you're just fucking crazy.
Yep. There's
no scientific evidence for any of this. This is bullshit. You're fucking crazy. What it is a chemical imbalance in your brain, or some damaged, neural pathways, or whatever the fuck it is. And your brain is fabricating these scenarios. That's equally as terrifying a thought as making contact with an interdimensional being. Because on one hand, this is fucked. And on the other hand, your brain is literally lying to you, and you can't discern that at all.
Yep. And I think as we get older, we're programmed to try to debunk the paranormal.
Of course.
Because paranormal, it's outside of the realm of normalcy. You got to try to make normal of the paranormal. And I feel like that really muddies the water when it comes to experiences, because you're constantly trying to look for a natural explanation to things that are supernatural.
And that's what I'm saying. If you can't prove it to me on paper, you can't show me the evidence. Look, Steve, there's a damaged section of your brain And that's what's causing these misfires and these hallucinations. If you can't do something to that equivalent, I'm not fucking believing you.
Yeah. I think that's where
You got to fucking straight up prove it to me, because outside of that, I believe I'm of sound mind, and that's all that matters.
Yep. And Stella still had an inkling of that, because she knew, sure, some of these things may not be rationally explained, but she did know she still had evidence on film. So every once in a while, she would borrow a projector. She would look back at her orbs, borrow a projector, look back at her orbs. Finally, in 1968, Stella bought her own top-of-the-line Bell and Howell projector.
Hell yeah.
This new piece of technology allowed her to slow down the 8mm footage she had shot on that night in 1967.
Damn, she got slow-mo.
Yeah, to where she could stop it. Like, she could slow it down to 2 frames per second and pause it frame by frame. That's when she noticed images she had failed to notice before. The bright object she had filmed on that road contained a few frames in which appeared a glowing rectangular bar in the center of the big white orb. This particular bar almost looked as if it were a window within one of these orbs. Within the window, she notices the head and torso of 4 men. Not aliens, not greys, not reptoids, human Caucasian men. They appeared to be looking back at Stella as she was observing them. One appeared to have a beard and mustache, the other one a simple goatee. One looked to be wearing a white undershirt, and the other appeared to have some sort of military outfit on. The men moved in the frames. So as it would go frame to frame, their heads would turn, their mouths would move. So they were actually moving in the orb while she was filming it.
That's fucking bizarre.
It's crazy.
It makes zero sense.
You've read about that.
I don't know. It's confusing as fuck. Because it kind of does lead credence at that point that there is some type of time distortion to be able to move it down that slow and witness that. And
that was another theory, that maybe these were time travelers that that happened to just pick Stella out of 300 million people to specifically observe and maybe like test her reactions to what she was seeing.
But it's also weird because like I feel like at a certain point, whatever these things are, whatever, like I feel like there's an ulterior motive to let her observe it. They want her to interact and observe this.
Yeah, I'm wondering, did they bank on her going this deep to where she locks in that they're behind this? You know what I mean? Because up to this point, they all just labeled Stella as crazy.
Yeah.
Now she's still doing the work. Even after being labeled as crazy, she still went back and did her due diligence, trying out different projectors till she got top of the line. Once she got the top of the line, which may not have even been out by then, by the time she recorded it, now she catches on to whatever the fuck this is.
It also like it also feels like one of them situations that like we were kind of getting into there about them wanting her to watch, and then you asked, did they anticipate her to go this far? What if they just wanted to see how far a normal person witnessing this could go?
Yeah,
because maybe Doc is in the pocket. Maybe they got him too. You're paranoid schizophrenia. You're a nut job,
dude.
And they want they want him to tell her that, to see if it sways her, to see if she recommits to the belief, to see what they can get away with and what they can't get away with.
Yeah. See if she just accepted the fact that she was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The men appeared to be talking to each other in frame to frame. Stella, for some reason, believed that the men emerged from some type of craft. She later is quoted saying, "I never saw the people when filming it. I can't tell you what object they came out of or what they were in. I thought they must have come from the soft white object that was hovering while I was filming." According to Stella, this white craft hovered above her throughout the filming. The four strange men she captured, she would begin to call the occupants. They appeared again to be looking down at Stella while she was filming them. Oh, like they were acknowledging her, which is also crazy because they would have to be in whatever this is in real time. Unless it was some sort of maybe like holographic kind of thing that they're observing through or some shit. I don't know. Bonkers.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen there. I mean, you could be time travelers and they're gathering evidence of somebody of a previous time. I don't know. It's bizarre. It's fucking bizarre.
Yeah, and again, Stella was noted that these could not be seen at normal speed. They had to be significantly slowed down and checked out to even be able to see the forms within the orb. Other odd artifacts appeared on the film as well. A strange vertical line appeared throughout the film in regular intervals. It was too uniform to be a scratch, but too repetitive and deliberate to be dismissed as any kind of like weird film artifact. It was almost as if it was some sort of energy taking place while the film was being recorded. There was also a series of orange glowing orbs above the window in an almost arc pattern, kind of like a boomerang shape, suggesting that there was some sort of structure above the window itself. The men, as it was studied, showed signs of what's called lateral compression, which is an effect that happens when something is viewed or videotaped through curved glass, like looking through a window. So, was this evidence that Stella was being watched by something beyond our knowledge, or was it just film artifacts and light flares, as skeptics would say? Keep in mind, Stella was not the one to develop the film. She took it to this university and had them develop the film. She also had no monetary resources or knowledge to manipulate or fake these things on film. She also wasn't a grifter. She didn't seek fame and fortune for these images. For the longest time, she just kept it to herself, showed her family, and a very few close friends. Around this time, in late 1968, Stella was listening to the radio, and there was a radio show, kind of a precursor to Art Bell, called John Long Nobel Radio, where he was a host, where they would talk about fringe topics, supernatural things, and she happened to tune in to one on UFOs. This really piqued her interest. So then she started looking into UFO conferences on the East Coast. In April of 1969, she took her film to a UFO conference in New York City, and then a symposium later that year. She began to attend these conferences regularly and continued seeing and filming the strange lights. By 1970, the films featuring mysterious lights had changed to also include strange geometric structures imposed on them. Some of them had peculiar clock-like patterns that also started to appear in her films and photographs. It was almost like if you look at them, you can find all these pictures online. There are like chalk marks throughout her film, almost like a clock, like you have 9 and 3 and 12 and 6 and whatnot. And they were marked through her film on these different images, things that she wasn't seeing them visibly, but as she would take the pictures, they would show up when they would develop the film. These structures, geometric structures, began to show themselves on 6 different cameras. Once she took it with one camera, she thought maybe it's the camera. So she switched it not once, not twice, but 6 different times, and they still showed up. She also used multiple different types of film. they still all showed up. Different takes, different angles, still showed up. Pictures indoors, they showed up. Pictures outdoors, they showed up. She even went and filmed in 5 different states. They still showed up. Even more interesting, the geographic patterns began to overlay the film itself. They would overlap the frames of her footage, start on one and finish on another. In multiple different series of pictures.
Bro, it's almost like they're sending a hidden message of like, hey, dupe ding, we need you to put these together.
It's crazy. You can see the strip of film with the geometric shapes on them, and like there'll be one picture of an airplane she took, and the next one will be of the airplane in a different position, but this thing has cut through the 2 different pictures and is in between the 2. It's bonkers.
Which feels like it has intent, like it's doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
But to what end, I have no clue. I've never heard anything like that before, ever. Not to mention, I love how smart she's being, but at the same time, and she probably did, and I'm just taking away credit, but like the magnitude at which you're able to witness these things is out of control. That should weigh on your brain at some point. Like, why the fuck am I able to see these things as much as I can?
Yeah.
This is crazy.
It is crazy. Which it does make you reconsider that maybe these things, maybe people can't manifest them, but maybe these things lock on to very specific people to where it's such a regular occurrence that it feels like manifestation.
Yeah, because I like one of my questions I was going to ask is for her and this being linked to say CE5, what's her catalyst? What causes that consciousness connection?
I don't know. She didn't. Her daughter. As I was researching, her daughter had posted in the comments of one of the websites, Ghost Theory, and she posted in the comments that her mom had always been interested in the paranormal and the occult and stuff like that. She began to think, the daughter began to think that her being interested in the occult, made her mom more susceptible to these things because the daughter thought that these things were demonic.
Which is a pretty common belief.
Yes. So it could be, I didn't find any other catalyst outside of that comment that was posted that she had been interested in the paranormal. And it kind of like you stare into the darkness stares back, But I didn't see
I do think that that's an appropriate answer, though.
Nothing I could find, like, was there an abduction scenario when she was young or anything like that? I couldn't find anything like that. It was just she had like an interest in the supernatural, and then this stuff started happening.
And it like, even when you were talking about it earlier, I had this image pop up in my head of like, which I know you won't necessarily get it, but of like the idea of the Matrix. And because you have the Matrix, the Matrix itself, where people are living inside the simulation, but outside in the real world, they're laying in pods, being harvested essentially. It makes me wonder, like in this case in particular, what if there's something to that Matrix setup where what if the catalyst, what if the whole thing behind it is, oh, this one will, just for lack of better words, this one is awake. This one has awoken. Why has this one awoken?
Yeah, I get it.
Because if you think about it, there's a lot of people, and it's not a foolproof theory here, but the majority of people on the planet operate an NPC style path, so to speak, and they have fuck all of encounters.
Yeah.
Or maybe one day they see something, but their brain completely just shuts it off.
Yeah, or they're told they're schizophrenic.
Or they're told they're schizophrenic. And then they're prescribed medication, which makes them forget.
Yeah.
It's a weird thought that I had, though. You know, the idea of maybe they monitor people that become aware and either observe them or maybe attempt to usher them. Because that made me think of another question. Is there, like, it's kind of a foolish thought, but is there anybody out there that has had an encounter only to like have a hard reset on their life? So I witnessed my glowing ball in the sky. Shauna witnesses it. And then for whatever reason, something happens and my brain completely erases it. It never happened to me. I'm reset back into the matrix.
Oh yeah, then you would never know.
You would never know. Unless for whatever reason it didn't reset for Shauna. It only reset for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And are these ones that are remembered, are they failed experiments? You know, like what if the ones that we don't remember are the successful ones?
Right.
Which is terrifying.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so the anomalies on film were studied by lifetime photographers and film analyst experts, and they all stated that these things, like these anomalies, should not exist on film. They just should not happen.
Should those people also see the talking people?
I don't know.
That would be interesting to get others' opinions on seeing these figures inside the orb.
And you have to keep in mind that the 8mm camera had no capability of recording sounds. So it was just silent film. Keep that in mind when we get toward the end, because it gets weird.
Great.
It gets weird. So Estella's kind of making her way through these conferences. In 1971, she attends a UFO conference and shared her story with a man by the name of Dr. Berthold Erich Schwartz. Dr. Schwartz met Stella in 1971. He already had built a large following in the UFO community. Schwartz was a psychiatrist with a keen interest in spirituality, ufology, and the paranormal. He was a well-rounded researcher, and as Schwartz had just finished his lecture, a friend introduced him to Stella. She sat there and poured out her story to Dr. Schwartz, who then, upon hearing Stella's story and had seen the evidence she had brought on film, kind of had him stay there longer and examine the evidence. Dr. Schwartz says, I spent the time in the auditorium listening to one of the most unusual accounts of alleged, repeated, close UFO contacts that I had ever heard. On the surface, the accounts were extraordinary, if not preposterous. Experiences involving strange little men, voices appearing out of nowhere, creatures, loss of consciousness, electric shock from a shimmering figure, a gaping hole in the ice, a craft possibly surfacing from underwater, minuscule footprints, religious symbols, bizarre harassments. Fortunately, as I learned later, Miss Lansing kept meticulous records of all of her experiences. So there's even experiences that I couldn't find, like the little footprints and the religious symbols, which was only noted by Dr. Lansing in some of his notes. Not Dr. Lansing, Dr. Schwartz. He went on to conduct several extensive medical and physical and neurological examinations on Lansing before he would even move forward with investigating her paranormal claims.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he wanted to make sure that this wasn't some sort of, again, psychosis.
I love that, like, not only she took that approach, but he's also taking that approach. Like,
yes.
Like, we're acknowledging that something completely fucked is going on, but let's run the gambit here, check all the boxes, Then we'll get into the weird shit.
Yeah.
Let's rule out what we can rule out. And then we're going to go look at the unknown.
Which is the way an investigation should be done.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah. So as after he did all of the test, he stated that Stella, for all reasoning, was physically normal, neurotically intact, and she also showed no signs of engaging in deceit. She was being truthful. This went completely against what her psychiatric evaluation in 1967 said. Whereas mentioned earlier,
on a payroll.
Yeah, which is mentioned earlier. During her stay, the doctor in charge of her case diagnosed her with paranoid schizophrenia, suggesting that her hallucinations had resulted in her sightings of UFOs. Far from being crazy, this diagnosis highlighted that Stella was quite normal, given the years of bizarre experiences that she had. I'm going to go to ghosttheory.com here and kind of read from what they have from Dr. Schwartz. Again, Dr. Schwartz first examined Stella. He performed physical examination, a neurological examination, as well as an electroencephalogenic, an EEG exam. Her central nervous system also checked out fine. Stella passed her examinations with flying colors. However, when the psychiatric session began, Dr. Schwartz learned the extent of Stella's claim of the abnormal activity that followed her. Stella told the doctor that in 1967, 6 years after initially coming in contact with the strange lights, that she had checked herself into a state hospital. For years, the sightings of the unidentified flying objects and strange beings had begun to take a toll on Stella. She admitted to the hospital that she was under the care of the hospital's director of clinical psychiatry. Under his examination, the doctor labeled Stella as a paranoid schizophrenic who suffered from hallucinations about seeing UFO crafts. Although not overly religious, Stella spoke of strange communications that she had received telepathically about supposed UFO communications from Beelzebub, aka the devil himself. Stella stayed under the doctor's care for an initial 10 days before checking herself out. However, not a month later, she had returned to the hospital, this time checking in for 5 weeks total. I missed that part. She completed her treatment and was released on the basis that she had no further reoccurrences. It was Dr. Schwartz who believed that Stella could have gone into a temporary psychosis brought on by the phenomena she was experiencing. Although Stella was a Roman Catholic during her stay in the hospital, she was never described as someone who was overly pious. In fact, she rarely talked about religion or scriptures of any kind. This was just Stella's mind, or was this just Stella's mind trying to make sense of the voices, images, and visitation that had plagued her for years?
Well, I mean, at a certain point, I feel like anybody is going to start to crack under that pressure because at a certain, like, I feel like a lot of people, like even in our genre, are going to find it crazy and cool at first and scary. But eventually it gets to a point where you just want to be left the fuck alone.
Yeah. Yep.
And then that's whenever everything weighs on you. Also, it's really weird that my episode, we kind of touched on the CE5 thing, but at the same time, I'm also finding it very bizarre that we had the conversation we did, and then we're doing this for two reasons. One, in the first Manson episode we did, we learned that Manson read a book essentially about like Martians, which helped fuel his theology, or philosophy or whatever, even though it wasn't about aliens. But it's also weird that we covered that section where dude had the satanic ritual at the airbase that was contacted by or had encounters with aliens. And then Watson, one of his famous lines, "I am the devil and I'm here to do the devil's work." And then you just said that line about Beelzebub, literally the devil. I'm like, that's a fucking weird connection.
It's almost like maybe there's an underlying narrative that's trying to be spun throughout the phenomena.
It's also, and to that point, to that point, it might not just be the phenomena. It may be out there and I may be jumping the gun. I find it very interesting that some of the research you were unable to find were the religious symbols that appeared.
Yeah. It's weird.
I find that pretty fucking interesting.
It's weird. I'd like to try to get a hold of Dr. Schwartz's notes.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Or even I'm jumping the gun here anyway, but all of Stella's evidence was tossed out after she had died.
Of course it was.
Her daughter got into it in that comment. She left this huge, long comment in one of these posts. And let me see if I can find where she talks about it. Because I was like, oh, man, you got to be kidding me.
That makes me feel a type of way. That makes me feel like high probability somebody made her get rid of it.
This, as far as I know, this is a quote from the comment that her daughter left. Quote, as far as I know, all of my mother's films, which were interspersed with films of myself and my children and other family members, were thrown out. And unless the Russian men felt inspired to pull them out and look for them themselves, then they are at rest in the Palmertown dump. And they have been there since August of 2012, even before my poor mother died. So
she knew exactly when they were pitched.
Yeah.
Which is weird. But it's also weird that, was she the one that threw the shit away?
No, it says Richard took over the estate and did what he wanted, not caring about me or my sibling or our siblings, only himself. So it's almost like maybe, I don't know who the Russian guys are she's talking about.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering myself.
Okay, let me keep looking here.
But that obviously suggests somebody else was looking for the fucking tapes.
This says I was her. Okay. My mother, however, it should be known, was keenly religious in her youngest years and loved Jesus with all her heart. She did not choose to attend Catholic church. She prayed on her own and loved doing good deeds for others. Once wrote a beautiful poem at 16 about Jesus Christ, which was unfortunately thrown out when my older brother was throwing out almost everything that she owned. I was to get her films, but when my brother Robert was trying to pack them so I could pick them up, my older brother Richard, in a rage, told Robert, no, now you can't have them and she can't either, so I want you to throw them in the dumpster out there. Richard had rented 3 large, gigantic dumpsters and paid 2 Russian men to take anything they wanted from my mother's antique shop and house, so I couldn't have anything. He was so hateful toward me at the time, and I know that he was probably possessed. So, I don't know.
It does feel a little weird.
Yeah.
That whole situation feels a little weird.
Yeah. And that was, you guys can read the whole thing if you go to ghosttheory.com and look up, let me see what the name of the article is. Stella Lansing Photographs from Beyond. A lot of the information that I found cited this specific website, because this story is almost 10 years old. There's also a bunch of good pictures and drawings that Stella had put up that you can find. I'm just going to finish out the episode reading from this website because there ain't a whole lot left. Where am I at? For the past decade, Stella kept meticulous records of encounters with the strange phenomena. She kept journals of times and dates when she saw the bright lights and strange creatures. In one instance, Stella claimed that her entire left hand had suffered some type of paralytic shock when she photographed, quote, a shimmering figure. Dr. Schwartz began with a treasure trove, which was Stella's films. The spools of the film, which depict strange, blurry flashes of light zooming through the sky, are more interesting the images of strange, out-of-place structures or things. There's an example of a picture of Stella, it would be what we consider a selfie, but someone took a picture of her face. Here are 2 self-portraits of Stella, it's two self-portraits that Stella took just seconds apart. She claimed that a strange lesion became visible in only one of the frames, and you can see it. It looks like some weird sort of weird growth right on the side of her eye, and in the frame right after it, it's not there.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, it's weird. This all culminated on April 15th, 1971, when Dr. Schwartz, Stella Lansing, and a lady friend of Stella's all drove down to the spot in Massachusetts in which Stella claimed to have many of her encounters. I'm assuming it's on Flint Street, where two of them took place. The trio drove to a secluded area, killed the engine and the headlights, and stepped out of the vehicle into the silent still of the night. Within minutes, two yellowish glowing discs were seen up in the sky. The objects appeared to glide silently alongside of each other, oftentimes merging into themselves before splitting up again. They watched the lights uninterrupted for quite some time. So this is, again, kind of reminds you of Chris Bledsoe taking people out to observe the orbs.
So I was going to say, this is Bledsoe before Bledsoe.
And it also reminds you of some of the evidence coming out in the congressional hearings of these orbs splitting apart and zooming back together and splitting apart and becoming one. Again, 60 something years before the congressional hearings or any of this other evidence was even found. As the three, back to the story, as the three observed the craft, they were completely unaware of an approaching black car that had its headlights off. The car stopped about 100 feet from where the three stood, and suddenly it blasted its high beams in their direction.
That would scare the shit out of me.
Yes, this is taken directly out of an article from that Dr. Schwartz wrote. While Mrs. Lansing and I were filming these strange lights, an automobile suddenly seemed to appear out of nowhere. It stops approximately 100 to 200 feet ahead of our car. We were shocked to see its headlight illuminate our dark area and then flicker alternately. Left, right, left, right.
Oh, that's normal.
The lights were moving independently of one another. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And vice versa, in a manner reminiscent of a semaphore signal. I don't know what a semaphore signal is, but then they would dim out into a pink soft glow and then come on again. At the height of the excitement, the lady friend of Stella's panicked and screamed for us to get back in the car, which we did. Fortunately, I photographed most of this bizarre incident. And for several film frames, the flaming disc can be seen gliding in the background, above and then just over the glaring headlights of the mysterious car. The latter part of the event was filmed from the interior of Miss Lansing's car and showed reflections from her windshield. The mysterious car then suddenly turned on its lights, started its engine up, and barreled past us at great speed. Because of the blinding headlights, we could not make out the license plate, but the automobile seemed rather large. Nondescript General Motors model, probably several years old at this time. The mystery car was noisy and sounded as if its muffler was defective. It was impossible to see if there were any occupants in the car. So that's crazy shit.
Yeah, definitely. Dude, that would scare the shit out of me.
Dude, and
I don't know what would have scared me more.
That's the third time that Stella that we know of that as Stella is observing the orbs that these black cars show up.
Yeah. It's got to be Men in Black.
Bro, whose headlights work like that?
The Men in Black. Fucking alien headlights.
That's so bonkers to me, bro. It's so crazy.
That would fuck me up. I think I would be more afraid of the car.
Oh, yeah. Because, I mean, Stella's already interacted with the lights. You don't know what those dudes are going to do.
Yeah.
That particular incident that night led Dr. Schwartz to believe that something unexplainable was happening to Stella. It was in no way cleverly done hoax, since the distant UFO lights had no way of being projected into the night sky. Dr. Schwartz even refuted claims by many that they were subjects of a mass hallucination, an explanation that is often used to explain multiple witnesses seeing the same phenomena. An impossible hypothesis, since there exists no such thing proven as mass hallucinations. More anomalies, less answers. Again, this is coming directly from the Ghost Theory website. Go check it out. As the scientific community began hearing about Dr. Schwartz's research into Stella Lansing's phenomena, the interest in her abilities grew. Many researchers tried to explain the bizarre photographs of crafts, lights, and clock-like patterns infused in Stella's film as technical glitches, that somehow light had filtered into the camera, causing anomalies. They also entertained the idea that her 8mm film had been superimposed, something that would not have been easy to do at the time. However, not one of them ever managed to prove exactly how Stella captured those images or were able to recreate it. They were also not able to explain how these images appeared on different types of film with different types of cameras, all showing the same patterns and ghostly images. Stella never regressed to the state of mind she was in 1967 when she checked into the state hospital. After the psychiatric help from Dr. Schwartz, she managed to keep her head together and continue her exploration into the phenomena that surrounded her. This is where it gets strange. It wasn't until 1991 that the television show Sightings got a hold of Stella and Dr. Schwartz and ran a lengthy and concise segment on the phenomena. During the show's investigation, they exported Stella's silent 8mm film of the occupants onto VHS. When they did this, as they played the exported silent film, investigators were shocked to hear indistinguishable voices on the film.
Okay. I mean, but it does fit the bill because they were somehow putting fucking secret symbols in the video.
Dude, how crazy is that?
I don't know. It's like at that point it's working on its own rules.
Oh yeah.
Whatever that thing is has its own set of rules and we don't know what the fuck they are.
It's so crazy. Since then, since the Sightings episode had came out where they played the actual audio that was captured, which is creepy. I don't know if I'll be able to add it to this or not because it'll probably get flagged, but you guys can find the specific audio of Stella on the Sightings episode on YouTube. People have slowed it down to where they're making out one specific word from the indistinguishable words, and it's the word faster. Almost like they knew they were being seen and they were trying to get the fuck out of there.
That's crazy.
It is bonkers, bro. So Stella continued to jot down the dates and notes every time she had an unnerving experience. Curiosity would turn into obsession, and Stella Lansing passed away in 2012, never knowing the truth behind her haunted phenomena. Again, if you check out the Ghost Theory website, they have a link to the Sightings episode, which if I remember, I will also post up in the socials to where people can watch it. You can see some of the pictures. You can hear some of the audio to kind of back up the thing Stella was experiencing. Crazy.
That's wild, dude. It really does, though. Genuinely, it makes me think of Bledsoe before Bledsoe.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of makes you like it almost leans into maybe you know these specifically chosen people are being manipulated by something from beyond, and the fact that they both have religious connotations to it is also bizarre.
I agree.
So crazy.
I agree. It's fucking weird.
It is.
It's
weird.
a dope ass story.
It is weird. I'll have to remember.
I'm like, it's kind of like unnervingly awesome that there was no real solution to the black vehicle that kept popping up.
No, and I'm wondering if it's the same black vehicle every time, because that wasn't specifically stated, but it's almost inferred that the same black sedan showed up. Which they would have to have previous knowledge of these things showing up and Stella being there, which means they may be the puppet masters of everything that's going on.
Could be.
Because you can't tell me they're just going to sit out there along the side of the road for Stella to show up and then also for the UFOs to show up.
Oh man, I don't know, but it's awesome.
It's crazy. I had a whole bunch of different sources. I use Wikipedia to get information on the blackout. I use Ghost Theory, who did an excellent write-up on Stella's encounters. A lot of the other, I used futurism.com, but a lot of these also used ghost theory as a source. So definitely go check that out. You can find Stella's sightings episode on YouTube under the channel called The Eighth Tower. Again, I'll share that if I can remember. And there was another YouTube channel that I discovered that just ran the Stella episode, which was, as I was perusing, I found it, which got me interested in it. I think it's called Valarcana. Let me look just to make sure they get some credit there. Yeah, that website or that YouTube page is called Valarcana. Velarcana. They're a husband-wife team that go into a lot of weird paranormal different things. So go check them out as well. And on that note, Holocult, that's what I have for today. Stella and her images from the other side. If anybody has any kind of thoughts, theories, suggestions on what was going on, how this links into CE5 of today, into Greer's studies, into the Bledsoes, make sure you comment, leave us things, tell us what you think. So on that note, thanks for hanging out with us. Hope everybody's Monday is going good. Everybody survived the snowstorm. Stay safe. Stay weird. And just remember, you never know when you could be chosen to be the next contactee. If you do, you need to be like Stella and meticulously record all that shit.